It's March 18th here in Seoul, and I'm Peunji. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour, starting with a mass walkout by doctors. As the walkout by trainee doctors continues, professors from 16 medical schools across the nation have also decided to submit their resignations in support, worsening the crisis. Voting in the Russian presidential election ended Sunday, and early results show Vladimir Putin is set to easily win his fifth term as the country's leader. This would give him another 6 years in power until 2030. North Korea fired a ballistic missile this morning. This is the first time in about 2 months that the regime has engaged in a ballistic missile test, after claiming to have successfully launched its solid-fuel hypersonic missile in early January. It's already been a month since thousands of junior doctors walked out on their jobs in protest over the government's medical school quota hike. Now, professors from medical schools have decided to follow suit starting March 25th. Our Kim Bo-kyung starts us off.
Junior doctors are not alone in deciding to walk away from their work sites. Professors at medical schools have also chosen to submit resignation letters starting next Monday, March 25th. Professors from 20 or half of South Korea's medical schools were present at a meeting late on Friday, with professors from 16 schools deciding overwhelmingly to resign. The 4 remaining schools are reportedly collecting opinions over whether and when to join in. Resignation submissions are set to start on the 25th, but dates could differ depending on each medical school's schedule. Professors from Seoul National University's medical school had previously decided to file resignations starting this Monday, but have decided to reschedule accordingly. The chief of the medical professors group strongly urged the government to back down from the plan to raise the enrollment quotas at med schools from 3,058 to 5,058 per year starting in 2025.
We desperately ask for a first step to be made to start discussions. We ask the government even more. Please let go of the figure of 2,000. Otherwise, we cannot start discussions at all.
To this, Health Minister Cho Kyu-hong expressed serious concerns during a meeting at the Central Disaster and Safety Countermeasures headquarters held on Sunday. While underlining how the decision by professors could be a great threat to patients' lives and health, the minister urged professors to work with the government so that trainee doctors could return to duties. Meanwhile, according to the Education Ministry, 4 out of 10 medical students have filed for school leave. That is more than 7,500 from the total of 18,794 studying at 40 medical schools nationwide. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
Russian President Vladimir Putin is on the verge of winning his 5th term as the country's leader, with overwhelming support. However, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky slammed Putin for being power-hungry and said he should be tried at The Hague for war crimes. Our Lee Seung-jae has more.
To no one's surprise, Russian President Vladimir Putin is set to win his 5th term as the country's leader. According to a number of Russian opinion poll organizations, exit polls show that an overwhelming number of voters had picked Putin. Russia's Central Election Commission also revealed that with 60% of the votes counted, Putin had an overwhelming lead, with over 87% voting for the incumbent leader. On the verge of winning yet another presidential election, Putin on Sunday called on Russia to become stronger and more effective, thanking the Russian people for voting. He also mentioned the soldiers fighting in what he referred to as special operations against Ukraine, while emphasizing that the source of Russian power is the Russian people. A win for Putin will mean he will be in office until at least 2030, when he will be turning 77, making him Russia's longest-serving leader since Soviet dictator Joseph Stalin. Putin has had little to no challenge during his rule, with most opposition candidates either dead, jailed, or barred from running for office. Russian presidential elections were held every 4 years until the law was changed in 2008 to extend the term to 6 years, while more constitutional changes in 2020 removed the presidential term limits. However, one person ensured that Putin didn't get her vote, as Yulia Navalnaya, the widow of Alexei Navalny, said Sunday that she wrote her late husband's name on the ballot. Navalny supporters also held demonstrations at polling stations throughout Russia while voting for other candidates or invalidating votes. In a video message on Sunday, Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky criticized Putin, calling him sick with power, adding that the Russian leader is willing to do anything to stay in power. Zelensky also stressed that everything Putin has done in occupying Ukraine is a crime, emphasizing that he should be tried at The Hague for war crimes. The Ukrainian leader also said that there's no legitimacy in the Russian elections. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
As widely expected, Russian President Vladimir Putin is set to win the presidential election after 3 days of voting up to Sunday. This will give him another 6 years in power until at least 2030. For more details on how this will affect the global landscape, we're joined by Professor Joel Atkinson. Welcome to the program.
Yeah, good morning. It's my pleasure.
Good morning. The election came as the Kremlin looked for a high turnout. Russia says the figure already surpassed 67.5%, the number recorded in 2018. So how is this year's election different from previous ones, and what's your take on the voter turnout?
Yes, Moscow worked hard to achieve a high turnout. There was quite a bit of manipulation, and even some coercion appears to have been involved. At the same time, Putin appears to be broadly popular. At more than 73%, the reported turnout is higher than in 2018. So that sends a signal that his regime is stable and in control. I think the biggest difference, obvious difference this time, is the war Putin started with Ukraine. Putin worked hard to project a sense of normalcy, but there were nevertheless some disruptions from Ukrainian bombardments and drone attacks during the 3-day election. The other big change is that major opposition figure Navalny died in an Arctic penal colony this February. He was poisoned with a nerve toxin in 2020. Any serious challenges have been suppressed and kept off the ballot, and 3 token rivals from Kremlin-friendly parties were allowed to run against Putin.
Right. And Russian voters were seen protesting against Putin's re-election. So what impact will the election results have on Russia's domestic situation?
Yes, there were protests. There was some green liquid poured into ballot boxes, etc. And that was apparently in homage to Navalny, who was attacked by an assailant who splashed green disinfectant on his face in 2017. There was also a Noon Against Putin action with people urged to vote at 12 noon, writing in a protest vote. Some thousands of Russians may have participated. Still, Putin has tightened his grip on power. He's currently 71 years old. He's been in power now for more than 20 years. And this new term he just gave himself, after that, he would have been in power longer than Stalin, longer than any Russian leader since Catherine the Great in the 18th century. But yeah, who knows what the future holds? The war is placing considerable strain on society and the economy, so we'll see what happens.
Right, and it's been more than 2 years since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, and Ukrainian drones targeted Russia on the final day of voting. How will another 6 years of Putin affect the Ukraine war?
Yes, so the war is now in its 3rd year. Putin seems confident that it is turning in his favor. US support to Ukraine is being cut back due to partisan squabbling ahead of the November elections. We could see Donald Trump re-elected and also support to Ukraine halted. The Russians have a growing advantage in firepower and are slowly advancing. The Ukrainians are on the defensive. But I think Europe is belatedly moving with more urgency to supply weaponry. Ukraine is striking deeper into Russia with drones. So while Putin certainly has reasons to be optimistic, I think there's a long way to go yet.
Absolutely. As for ties with South Korea, the bilateral relations have been strained for a while now. So how will 6 more years of Putin affect the two countries' relations?
Yeah, so relations are the worst they've been since the end of the Cold War, really. The latest development is that a South Korean man associated with a Seoul-based Protestant charity was arrested for espionage in Vladivostok. It'll be very difficult for things to get much better while Putin remains in power or his Ukraine war continues. Putin is unhappy with the Yoon administration for participating in sanctions and for indirectly supplying Ukraine with artillery, ammunition, and so on. So Seoul's not going to stop. Not only would it alienate partners, particularly the US, but it is also not in South Korea's interest to see Putin's aggression in Ukraine succeed. But of course, if Donald Trump returns to the White House, then the whole dynamic could change quite dramatically.
Recently, Russia has been building close relations with North Korea. How will the election results affect its relations with North Korea?
Yeah, that's right. Yes, while Russia's relations with South Korea have never been worse, thanks to the Ukraine invasion, relations with North Korea have never been better, really. Putin needs weaponry from North Korea. In return, he's providing advanced technology and other goods, as well as support in the UN Security Council, etc. So Moscow also appears to be cracking down on North Korean escapees in Russia's Far East. Putin gave Kim Jong-un a luxury car, tourism has begun, and ties will presumably continue to deepen while Putin remains in power. If North Korea engages in escalating provocations this year, as many expect that the regime will, possibly even violent actions that result in the deaths of South Koreans, then that's really going to make relations with South Korea even worse.
All right, Professor Atkinson, thank you so much for your insight this morning.
Yeah, thank you.
The third Democracy Summit will be held in Seoul for 3 days starting on Monday, continuing the initiative to protect societies from various threats to human rights, freedom, and other democratic principles. The initiative began in 2021 by President Joe Biden, and it's the first time to be hosted independently by another country. Our Oh Soo-young has the details.
The third Summit for Democracy kicks off in Seoul on Monday, with world governments, civil society and the private sector to address digital threats to freedom and human rights. With some 300 delegates expected at the three-day summit, it is the first time that the conference is being held independently outside the United States. Under the theme Democracy for the Future Generation, this year's summit begins with a ministerial-level meeting, followed by an expert roundtable on democratic processes to address cyber threats and foster digital innovation in a way that respects human rights and freedom in online spaces. On the second day, members of civil society will hold discussions and workshops on related themes. The plenary session of world leaders will be held virtually on Wednesday evening Seoul time, with President Yoon chairing the session on technology, elections and fake news. He has recently spoken with Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg on the threat to liberal democracies that comes from the manipulation of AI and social media. Kenyan President William Ruto will lead a session on the Global South, and Danish leader Mette Frederiksen on inclusive society and youth empowerment. The Summit for Democracy was launched in 2021 under the leadership of US President Joe Biden, amid the worrying rise of autocratic leaders and authoritarian governance around the world. The second summit was held in March last year, jointly hosted by the United States, South Korea, Costa Rica, the Netherlands and Zambia. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken arrived in South Korea Sunday evening to attend this year's summit and a lunch with Foreign Minister Cho Tae-ho. Seoul's Foreign Ministry says the two are likely to discuss issues of mutual interest, such as democratic cooperation, strengthening the ROK-US alliance, as well as regional and global issues. A bipartisan group of US Congress members on Friday addressed a letter to Blinken and Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, lauding Seoul's initiative on hosting the third Summit for Democracy. They said South Korea has risen from the ashes of war to become one of Washington's closest allies and a vibrant democracy that best demonstrates joint efforts to defend democracy around the world. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
North Korea fired a ballistic missile toward the East Sea this morning, according to South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff. The launch comes over a month after North Korea fired multiple rounds of cruise missiles toward the East Sea. It's the second ballistic missile launch of the year, with the previous launch coming in January. South Korea's military is analyzing the details of the launch. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman said he hopes to collaborate with South Korea's Samsung Electronics and SK hynix to create AI chips. The announcement was made last Thursday during the K-Startups and OpenAI Matching Day, held at OpenAI headquarters in San Francisco. Altman made a surprise appearance at the event to select 10 K-Startups that will collaborate with OpenAI. When asked about the possibility of a collaboration between the U.S. AI company and Samsung Electronics and SK hynix in manufacturing AI chips, he said he's visited the two companies twice in the past 6 months, calling them fantastic companies. Altman visited South Korea in June 2023 and January this year, and his visit attracted attention amid reports that he was working to establish an AI semiconductor alliance to develop his own AI semiconductor. President Yoon emphasized the importance of playing sports for children as he showed off his batting skills in front of MLB players. This came on Saturday during Yoon's visit to a baseball event at Yongsan Children's Garden, where children learn from players from MLB San Diego Padres, visiting the Seoul series, including Kim Ha-sung. Yoon encouraged the young baseball players to cherish this experience, saying playing sports will help them become good leaders. The event was hosted by former MLB star Park Chan-ho, who boasts the most career MLB wins of any Asian-born pitcher. Yoon gifted Park a picture of them both at the White House State Dinner, while Park gave the president a glove made to celebrate 30 years since his debut. 300 children from elementary school teams, U.S. Forces families, and multicultural families also attended the event. On the cultural front, recent data from the Korea Tourism Organization showed that of the 11 million overseas tourists who visited the country last year, more than one-third were 30 years or younger. The Harvard-Radcliffe Orchestra from the U.S. is among them. It's currently touring Korea until next Monday, and our Song Yoo-jin spoke with some orchestra members on why they chose Korea this time and what we can expect.
It's the oldest orchestra in the United States. With a history spanning over 2 centuries, the Harvard-Radcliffe Orchestra is composed of more than 100 Harvard University students. And while they may be students, their performances do not fall behind those of professional musicians. Since 1962, the HRO has been touring worldwide, gracing stages in over 18 countries across 4 continents. This year, they're back in Korea, a country close to their hearts and one they last visited in 2015.
Very good and collaborative relationship with Korea. We have a lot of alumni who are here in Korea. A lot of our students are Koreans or with Korean heritage. Korea is, of course, a particularly good place from a classical music standpoint. It's very advanced, which makes it a much more rewarding experience.
For these young musicians, touring isn't just about playing to bigger crowds. It's a chance to harmonize with diverse cultures, creating a symphony of understanding.
Yeah, just to have a lot of collaboration across different cultures and across with a unified vision of that music can bring people together, whether we speak the same language as I was saying before, or whether we're from different places.
This is my first time in the country, even though I guess I am Korean, 100% Korean. I've never been to Korea. I've never even been to Asia, and it's been great just kind of exploring what the culture is like here and get.
Their Seoul concert, which kicked off the orchestra's tour, was all about inclusion and harmony. Together with Korea's Beautiful Mind Orchestra, which is comprised of students with disabilities, they performed Arirang Fantasy, a variation of the Korean folk song Arirang, and Mambo by the late Leonard Bernstein, a distinguished Harvard alum.
It makes me feel proud when I play the violin.
I can touch people through music and give them hope. Playing the flute gives me hope and confidence because it makes me feel that I can also do something meaningful.
The Harvard-Radcliffe Orchestra strikes a chord that resonates beyond barriers, showing that music truly is a universal language. Song Yoo-jin, Arirang News.
Good morning, I'm Kim Seong, and now we turn over to stories from around the world. French President Emmanuel Macron said Russia will be asked to agree to a ceasefire in Ukraine during the upcoming Paris Olympics. Macron was speaking in an interview shown on Ukrainian television on Saturday. In response, Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova said France should first stop its weapons supply to Ukraine, adding that Macron should have proposed the same ceasefire for the Middle Eastern conflict. Macron's interview comes after the mayor of Paris, Anne Hidalgo, said last week she would prefer it if Russians and Belarusians don't come to the Paris Olympics. The International Olympic Committee has previously condemned Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February 2022 on account of it breaching the Olympic truce of promoting peace and cooperation through the power of sports. Protesters in Israel blocked major roads and scuffled with police in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem on Saturday evening as they call for new elections and an immediate hostage deal. Over the past few weeks, protesters have routinely interrupted traffic. However, Saturday was the first time demonstrators in Jerusalem blocked the roads at Paris Square. The protesters sang the Israeli national anthem and carried placards that read, "Election now, and you will not stop us." A protester named Rimon Nissan said, "We're here to protest the government that hasn't been acting for the majority of people in Israel for a while now. It's creating more tension between Arabs and Jewish people. We think it's actively harming us during the war and beyond it." In Hong Kong, 12 people were sentenced to prison on Saturday for their role in the storming of the city's Legislative Council building during the pro-democracy protests in 2019. Hong Kong actor Gregory Wong received a sentence of over 6 years from the district court on Saturday, while former student leader Althea Suen and activist Ventus Lau and Owen Chow all received jail terms ranging between 4.5 years to 6 years and 10 months. The majority of the defendants were found guilty of rioting. 2 journalists were also fined less than $200 each for illegally entering the Legislative Council chamber. Protesters stormed Hong Kong's Legislative Council building in July 2019 as public anger exploded over an extradition bill that will allow authorities to send people to mainland China for trial. Reuters commented that it was the boldest populist movement against the Chinese Communist Party since the 1989 Tiananmen Square protests in Beijing. Cities around the world turned green over the weekend to celebrate St. Patrick's Day on March 17th in honor of Ireland's patron saint. In central Tokyo, bagpipers, marching bands and dancers performed around Harajuku, celebrating the Irish tradition with green outfits and shamrocks. In New York, Manhattan began turning green on Saturday as large crowds prepare for the annual St. Patrick's Day parade. Politicians and members of the New York City Fire and Police Services march alongside performers and bands on Sunday. Ireland's victory in Rugby's Six Nations on Saturday added an extra dimension to celebrations as the Irish took their second title in a row.
Good morning. We are welcoming much cleaner air this morning, but the air has gotten much colder again. Spring cold is here with cold wave alerts issued in many inland regions, with morning temperatures dropping nearly 10 degrees lower than yesterday. But cold alerts should be lifted this afternoon, as most regions will see highs in the low to mid-teens, similar to slightly lower than Sunday. Seoul goes up to 13 degrees, Daegu topping out at 16 degrees Celsius. Mostly sunny skies in store across Korea. Meanwhile, eastern parts of the country and Chungcheong-do provinces are under a dry weather advisory along with strong winds. Fire safety is a must. But the dry air should ease with spring precipitation in the forecast tomorrow. It will either rain or snow from central and Jeollabuk-do province, gradually spreading to the rest of the country. Meanwhile, mountainous regions in Gangwon-do province will see snow instead. Be mindful of chilly mornings this week and do dress accordingly. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
That wraps up today's New Day at Arirang. Thank you for watching. We'll bring you more updates at the same time tomorrow.
한국에 오면 먹어야죠. 먹어도 끝이 없는 나라. 감당할 수 있겠니? 웰컴. 엄청난 에너지를 춤으로 뿜어내는 나라. 감당할 수 있겠니? 하나, 둘, 셋.
Hey, Mr. Cupid, who's calling? Make sure you listen to what I say. I may be stupid or quite naive.
끝없이 쏟아지는 포토스팟. 휴대폰 한 대로 감당할 수 있겠니?
Arrow straight through my heart.
Children's laughter, hope, dream. K animation belongs in them. Interesting and valuable story that transcends between everyday life and dream. Surprising spectacle where imagination becomes real. An array of subjects catering from infants to adolescents. 24-hour story to reach all corners of the world. K-animation makes healthy laughter for children.
We're here to make a new type of news.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generations. Making news just for you. It's March 18th here in Seoul. I'm Yoon, and you're watching News Generation. Joining me in the studio is Walter Lee.
Lovely to be here.
And Woo Hee-jun. Happy to be here. Happy Monday. Now, both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. As usual, let's start with our news feed, which covers different hashtags and news items that have been trending on the social media over the past 24 hours. Apples are no longer the most popular fruit bought by consumers here in Korea. According to the country's 3 biggest supermarkets from 2020, strawberries became the most popular fruit sold. Strawberries used to only be sold during the winter, but thanks to GMO technology, consumers can get hold of sweeter strawberries all year long. Before, apples used to be the most popular ones at market, but recent data shows that apple prices have more than doubled over the past year here in Korea, causing sales to fall. Moving on, Japan released the 4th batch of Fukushima treated water on Sunday. Tokyo Electric Power Company released around 7,800 tons, bringing the total amount of treated water discharge from last August to over 31,000 tons. Japan has been processing wastewater from the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power station so that dangerous amounts of tritium are not detected. And the plant's operator says the next round of discharge is possibly going to be next month. And ending off with entertainment-related news, South Korean actor Han So-hee has confirmed that she is in fact dating fellow actor Yoo Jun-yeol. Rumors about the two dating first spread on social media. Some claim that they saw the two actors spending time together in Hawaii. Shortly after, Liu's ex-girlfriend of 7 years, Hedy, who is also a former K-pop idol and actor, posted a photo reminiscent of Hawaii and wrote the caption "funny." This made netizens suspect that Liu might have been dating Han before he officially broke up with Hedy, and Han So-hee has since been at the center of backlash. Many criticized her for being Ryu's rebound and said the timing of her dating Ryu was quite uncanny. And the actress responded in a lengthy blog post that she and Yoo Jun-yeol had only gotten together after he had officially ended his relationship with Hedy. She also alleged that Hedy and Yoo Jun-yeol had broken up early last year, which was actually months before their breakup was announced in November. And this time around, we aren't seeing fans share their disappointment about the fact that their celebrity crush is dating. Instead, we're seeing more weight being added to the fact that it seems like the two celebrities started a relationship while one was still in another. So what about you guys? What do you guys think about how over the weekend we've been seeing so many headlines related to their dating and the timing of when they started to define the relationship? What were your thoughts on that?
Well, actress Han So-hee, she is being criticized, as you mentioned, like a few days ago. And there must be some back scenes between the Harry and Yoo that we couldn't know all. But I don't really want to get in about this one's personal issue, to be honest. Of course, it seems to be having quite complicated situations with a lot of issues going on. But when it comes with the relationship, even between the celebrity, in straightforward speaking, it's not my business, you know. So I don't want to be involved some of rumor that mentions, because I couldn't perfectly know all the details anyways. And some of judging someone with the rumor, it could push someone in the danger somehow.
Exactly. Now, what about you, Walter? It's not the first time that we've seen relevant news, but what are your thoughts on that?
Well, anyway. Personally, I stan Hedy. She is one of my favorite Korean celebrities. I love her personality. She is just an aura of fun, bubbly. I just love her so much. So guess whose side I'm on. But saying all that, well, first off, you go girl. You go girl with that sass on that Instagram post. I saw that Instagram post. But these are people's personal lives at the end of the day we're talking about, and we should not forget about that and take it into consideration. Anyway, we'll talk more about this on our main topic, but as much as I adore Hedy, I don't think Han So-hee or Ryu Jun-yeol should be facing this sort of criticism, to be honest with you, because to be honest, like Hee-jun said, it's not really for us to talk about. I mean, it's not the first time in anyone's life where we've seen a rebound or maybe this sort of situation happen in a normal life. So let's just, stick to ourselves, but we'll talk about that more in a minute.
Exactly, but isn't it quite ironic because we're seeing so many more dating reality show programs these days that cover rebounds. So I honestly thought that our generation was more open to the concept of indefinite dating times or when to define the relationship. But after this incident, I realized that there's still a lot of conservative fans out there. And speaking of celebrities disclosing their personal lives or whether they want it or not, I think a major question that we'd like to answer today during our episode is, are celebrities allowed to love? And it really doesn't seem to be the case for a lot of K-pop idols out there. And my AI voice secretary will tell you why. Earlier this month, K-pop singer Karina from the group aespa wrote a handwritten apology letter to her fans. She apologized for her reported relationship that drew a major outcry from her fans. Media outlets like CNN and BBC analyzed that K-pop fans seem to be living off the image that idols are romantically accessible, hence explaining some of the fervent followers' extreme loyalty. They commented on how in Korea it seems to be taboo for entertainers or K-pop stars to date publicly as record labels worry that this part of their personal life will push away fans. This analysis has definitely gained weight with Karina's dating scandal. Angry fans sent a truck with an electronic billboard to the headquarters of her agency, which read, "Do you not get enough love from your fans?" Another board read, "Why did you choose to betray your fans?" We're going to start our discussion with the Karina incident. To calm down enraged fans, Karina wrote a handwritten apology letter. And here in Korea, public figures usually write handwritten letters to show how sorry they are. It's often symbolic of how grave a situation is. So Walter, could you tell us a little bit more about Karina's handwritten letter and what she apologized for?
First, those enraged fans should be sending me a letter on how enraged I am that they've made me. Yes, what I think is an unnecessary apology letter to her fans. Karina wrote that she is very sorry. First, bringing up what is called a surprising situation or news to her fans, and also, she said, letting them down. Now, she also went on to say that she wants to make it up to her fans who were hurt by this news and will show a more mature side and a hardworking side for her fans. Now, this sort of angers me that she had to come out and apologize, what I think, for no reason. It's things like this that can drive K-pop stars into depression, and I think that this is online bullying, in my personal opinion.
And I would like to expound on your personal opinion a little later, but did she have a choice? I mean, we've seen sales of aespa, the group that she's been a part of, go down. Her big fan base in China, they've been boycotting all of their songs and goods. So I do think that she was sort of pushed to be writing a handwritten apology letter and uploading it on social media. But it's definitely not the first time that we've seen K-pop idols have to do this. As we mentioned with Han So-hee and Yoon in our news feed, celebrities dating news always seems to ruffle some feathers among fans, right?
Exactly. This is not the first time we're having this type of issues, because there's a group that Unique, Tangju, he actually apologized after it was revealed that he's secretly married and have a childbirth. And a few years later, a few years before, the EXO member Baekhyun, he also posted apologize to the fans after his secret relation was kind of revealed. So in 2001, there's kind of like using the cell phone and dating with someone was kind of banned to the idol. So in that same year, the Park Jun-young, the member of the G.O.D, he would be like kicked it out of the group with the dating with the actress. And also in Japan, there was a member of the girl group. She was like made apologize to the public with shaving her head because her secret relationship was revealed to the public. So if you want to look at this kind of issues, you can find a number of these issues more easily, which means it has been like treated as common issues or faults.
I think we're quite familiar to the concept of fans being very, I guess, hardcore when it comes to their celebrity crush having a new girlfriend or boyfriend. But as my AI voice secretary explained, fans' reaction towards Karina's dating scandal garnered so much attention from global media. It raised the question as to whether K-pop idols or Korean celebrities should be and can date openly. Now, what are some surrounding arguments to that?
Well, as you mentioned earlier with the AI voice, one of the arguments coming out of the situation was a posted digital billboard to something of the effect of, aren't the fans love enough for you? For that person, spend your money on something else, that would have cost you some money. Spend it on something else instead of, that silly little billboard that you did. But that's the main argument that I've seen come out of it, but I know that Heejun has a lot to say because I'm just too angry.
Exactly. Heejun, why don't you take a little bit more of a neutral stance as to explaining the surrounding arguments?
Right. I know that in case of the Korea idol fandom, they often feel conscious about raising their own idol and investing the money to raise their idol to the best. So they say like in this time, it's kind of like betrayal, have a relationship in the situations. But some says that process of like dedicating, investing in such idol, it's not like obligatory or forced by someone to do it. They just want to do it in that way as the fan. So dating between the young man and woman is like given, So, but why they're apologizing here? And I also personally stand on this side that I don't really get the points like why they're arguing on this.
And now you mentioned a great point there. I want to find out where you two personally stand. And I can tell, Walter, that you are not happy with these fans expressing their rage, right?
Well, for me personally, I think we should treat celebrities as any other couple that you see who are in love. Let me just say that in a calm voice. And then I know the excuse that they are supposed to seem more gettable. Let's just be honest with each other here. There's no chance of you getting that celebrity even if you like them, no matter how hard you try. Yes, it does happen from time to time, but that's like a 1 in a billion chance. So, sorry to burst that bubble that oh, I hope to get this BTS member, or I hope to get this Aspen member. It's not gonna happen. So come at me, K-pop fans. I don't care. But, you ain't gonna get the girl or guy that you want in that band, in my personal opinion, but let them live their happily lives in a relationship so they can feel love. Yes, they love the the love that they get from their fans, but that's a little bit different from actually having a relationship in general.
But can you blame fans? I mean, I want to play devil's advocate here because I think the entertainment industry does sell the concept of being approachable or achievable. I mean, it's a celebrity crush if you think about it. Though in reality, it may be very difficult for you to actually see and even date your celebrity crush. I think agencies want to sell the idea that there are these idols and artists out there that you might have a chance with. You can use your imagination. But then I think once that interferes with their personal life and some fans go as far to expressing that rage, that could be problematic. Now, what do you think?
Well, I also quite agree with him. But depending on the job, I think there are cases where you need to more pay attention to your privacy. But I don't think it's something to apologize for. And I think it's a strange situation to judge and point the fingers at it as if it were like a kind of wrong behavior, But no matter what kind of jobs becomes, it is action with the boundary of the law and the basic ethics. I don't think there's nothing to apologize for like these situations. And there are also a lot of MGs are quite think similar with this, but there's also the people who say it's kind of inevitable, and especially in the idol industry. But so I think it's still the topic that require more diverse conversation and still open to debates.
Exactly, and fans have definitely been split. We're not saying all fans were angry by their celebrity crush going out with someone. It was actually some fans were rooting for Karina's love. Not just Karina's case, but they were all looking into the fact that everyone has their own personal life. Because at the end of the day, it's just romance between two young adults. It's their personal choice. But I do understand the concept of, Heejun, you mentioned raising your idol. You're putting so much time and effort, also finance, that you want to see your idol really aspire to be a bigger star, and some fans are saying that their priorities should be set straight. Now, in the meantime, we asked our viewers what they thought, and if you take a look at the screen, you can find out what 3 of them had to say about today's discussion topic. Let's start with Tiris Bell. Tiris Bell said, idols are human beings just like us. They should be allowed to date, and I would 100% support them. Benny said, as a K-pop fan, as long as we can keep supporting our idols who are in a relationship, we are totally fine with that. Fun advice for the people who are against it, just accept the facts. Joyna said, it's up to the idols to have their own life. Real life and life on screen are so different. The idols are humans like all of us, but I think that sometimes fans can destroy the idol's real life. And I completely agree with our viewers. I think though they might have a very different occupation, at the end of the day, they're just human beings like us as well. And we're now going to include an expert in our talks to find out more about what it's like dating as a K-pop idol compared to celebrities in other parts of the world. We are going to find out more about how conservative the Korean entertainment industry is. But before we do that, I would like to ask you guys one more question in regards to how conservative South Korea's entertainment industry is compared to other parts of the world, like Hollywood, for instance. Walter, why don't you start us off there?
Well, definitely you see more people out in Hollywood being open with their relationships. I mean, they stem names from it. Like, example, when Brad Pitt and Angelina became a couple, it was Brangelina. And then whatever, Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez, or Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner, and Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. But it's so different. As we know in Western culture, it's more open. You're allowed to be in relationships. You're allowed to live these happy lives. In fact, to be honest with you, I think it's very different in the fact that a lot of people would look at Western Hollywood relationships and go, I wonder how long they're going to last.
Yeah, exactly.
Rather than, you know, oh, they're so happy together, or how dare they get together, because I'm not saying that the K-pop minds are sort of clouded, which they sort of are in this situation, but at least we know that, hey, listen, I'm not going to get Brad Pitt, or I'm not going to get David Beckham. Yeah. I don't know why I'm naming just males, but, you know, I'm just saying, a very different view compared to what not just Korean K-pop fans, but just K-pop fans in general from all over the world.
And isn't it quite interesting to see that there's an expression here in Korea when fans talk amongst each other that it's becoming more like Hollywood. I think that's an expression referring to how, compared to Korea, it does seem to be much more liberal and open when it comes to perceiving your celebrity crush and dating life and personal life. And I think the recent Yoo Jun-yeol and Heri and Han Sui incident, a lot of people are saying this is like Hollywood, because basically we've seen so many celebrities there date different people. It doesn't matter whether they're dating all at once. I think people are just much more open to that idea there, whereas in Korea we do seem to be still quite conservative.
I still think that, like, I don't know if a lot of people know about this in Korea, but we have what's called anti-fan clubs.
Yeah.
Now that is something that I think is also very stupid. So if you don't know what an anti-fan club is, it's usually a club. You have fan clubs, right? But then you have these anti-fan clubs that are against a certain celebrity, which I find, if you have the time to do that, get a job, or maybe spend your time doing something more proactive than hating on somebody. For me, I just don't see the point of those clubs, but they happen a lot. This, again, just doesn't happen in Korea. I'm not just targeting Koreans. It does happen all over the world. You do see a lot of backlash coming from, example, China, as we said earlier, or even Southeast Asia, because, yes, they do invest a lot of money into these celebrities.
Yeah.
But that's their choice to invest money into the celebrities. I invest my money into my daughter, which I have to, but I'm just saying, in comparative, you know, I'm not going to hate on her because she did something wrong.
Yeah.
So I think everyone should be treating these people like human beings, because at the end of the day, they have feelings. We've seen bad situations in the past, for example, Seoul or Guhara, who have been, you know, bombarded with terrible comments for whatever reasons. There's a different reason, but in this situation, we don't want to push Han So-hee, or we don't want to push Karina into this sort of depression where they feel like they just can't be themselves around someone else.
Especially since they're under the spotlight for so many other things as well. It's their job to be in front of TV, which I get, and that comes with a lot of responsibility. But I do think that it would be burdensome as a human being, right?
All right. Connecting with these worldly opinions, I also like compare with Hollywood. Like, I think one thing is differences is like expectations. Yeah. You know, there are people live there. They don't really expect it to be like reality, you know, person to person to the like celebrity. They are just cheer from the outside and then like supporting like their more bigger futures and the more advantaged. But in Korea, like there are most of fans are having like too much expectations to be like someone like to be in some kind of situation in advance. So that's why it's kind of like occurred more worse situation in advance. So I think the most important thing that like, you know, all about like understanding and outreaching is that we're all the same human being and we all need different jobs. So we have to understand like person to person, not like real like celebrity to person and dreaming something like that can happen again.
Now, we were going to connect live to an expert in the Korean entertainment industry to better compare how it's like in Hollywood compared to the K-entertainment industry, but unfortunately due to technical issues we couldn't get there. So I would now like to wrap up our discussion by talking about what we're hoping to see in terms of a better and healthier K-fan culture here. And I would like to point out, though there is that side of hardcore or very fervent fans expressing their rage, there are still that group of fans, like I believe both of you, who are ready to respect their celebrity crush's personal life out there. And some agencies are actually taking lead. They're taking the initiative by confirming their dating facts as soon as headlines come out. So I think that's a positive direction we're going for. But how do you think we can better satisfy fans and artists when it comes to celebrities' dating lives?
I think that comes down to the fans themselves and you know what they find more important in their lives. Do they find a celebrity's relationship more important than their own relationship? If you value a celebrity relationship over your relationship, maybe you need to think about your values a little bit more. But anyway, like I said, celebrities shouldn't have to hide their relationships. They really shouldn't. They are just human beings who are entitled to love. And like I said before, the love from a fan is different from the love from an intimate partner. Yes, they have a higher status. I get it. They're, you know, above average person. We look at them through this shining light that they are in, but they have the option to take control of their own lives. And they have the opportunities when they fall in love to be in a relationship and become a better person. If you've been in relationships before, you know that you grow as a person, you become more mature. Sometimes not, sometimes you do. Just depends. And we should let them live their own lives at the end of the day and worry about our own. As I have so much to worry about, I have no chance to even think about another person's relationship apart from my own.
That's heartfelt advice. I think you're basically telling those overdue fans that they need to sort of look into their own lives first, and that comes from a warm heart, in my opinion.
It does.
All right, what about you, Heejin?
Well, I think it's more easy if you think more simply. It's all about like understanding and approaching that we're all the same human being without like a different job. So we all like casually and naturally falling in love and start a relationship as so far. So it's kind of like weird that if you think that you're a celebrity, if they fall in love and start a relationship, it's fine to be like reprimanded and like criticized. Then it's like compulsory thinking. It's like a lack of your fans' love and understanding. And I think in that way, though,
let's evolve a culture where fans will allow their celebrities to fall in love. Now, to find out more about how conservative the Korean entertainment industry when it comes to disclosing a celebrity's love life, we're briefly going to connect to Bernie Cho in our talks. Bernie has come back from all the technical issues. Bernie, he's the president of DFSB Collective. And I'd like to ask you one question before we end off. How would you like to see the K-entertainment industry change as similar to Hollywood or other parts of the world? All right, unfortunately, I don't think the technical issue has been solved. So hopefully in our next episode, we'll be able to elaborate a bit more about the fact on how K-pop idols and celebrities, are they still hiding the fact that they're dating? How are fans perceiving this? We'll add a bit more analysis in our future episode. But in the meantime, today, we're going to be wrapping up here. And we'll be here every day from 9:30 to 10 a.m. Korea time, bringing you more topics young people are talking about. Special thanks to Walter Lee.
Lovely to be here.
All right, and Woo Hee-jun.
Thanks to be here.
All right, and thank you everyone for watching. We'll come again with another episode for more analysis. Now, we are News Generation.
하나, 둘, 셋.
Hey, Mr. Cupid, make sure you listen to what I say.